35. Heavy from Harlem to Kedzie, slow from Ashland to the Dan Ryan, outbound to 55 from Lakeshore Drive at 45, inbound Dan Ryan, 95 to downtown at 31, outbound 15, inbound 57, 80 Dan Ryan at 35, inbound Bishop Ford, 80, 94 to Dan Ryan at 51, heavy from 115th to the Dan Ryan. That's traffic. I'm Eddie Manzano. On AM 560, The Answer.
In our 1 hour heating and air conditioning weather center, meteorologist Steve Williams' forecast has some rain and drizzle in it this morning, maybe a thunderstorm. High later in the day of 65. Currently, we have 59 degrees at O'Hare. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Retire Chicago. Tune in Saturday mornings at 8 to Retire Chicago with John McNamara of McNamara Capital.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We just got a special delivery from Elk Grove police officer Ed Thomas, our friend who told us he's retiring after 29 years on the force. Tomorrow's his last day?
Tomorrow, yep, is the last day. They're going to have a coffee party for him at noon.
Yeah, coffee, quote
sure.
unquote. Yeah, right.
Yeah, who's going to bring the flask? But yeah, Ed Thomas, 29 years on the force, big fan of the show, and thank you so much for the baked goods.
It's definitely bittersweet. I appreciate he wants to retire after almost 3 decades of service, but that probably means that I'm going to have to give up my license to kill in Elk Grove Village.
Right. Maybe you can still drop a Ed Thomas when you get pulled over for speeding.
Yeah. Wait.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but I'm friends with Ed Thomas.
Don't mess with me. Wait till Ed Thomas hears about this. You're going to have to reckon with him. Yeah.
But thank you for the pastries from the bakery down the street. And good luck
bakery down the street. You got to call it by name. Jerish's. Right?
Jerish's.
I always pronounce it wrong. Jaroche. I'm not from here. I'm from DuPage County. We don't know how to pronounce these complicated Cook County names.
Snob.
Yeah. Chicago teacher strike may be more real than one Amy Jacobson thought it could be.
Well, I had inside source saying that somebody high up at CTU went to talk to some of my friends at said school, and
you're like the Trump whistleblower. You got like everything fourth hand.
This is heirsay. I am a whistleblower, and that this is just they're just testing.
Well, the Chicago Teachers Union and the Chicago Public Schools Management returned to the table this week, at which point the Chicago Teachers Union rejected a new offer from the city that included, in addition to the 16% over 5 raises.
It's crazy. So if you make $72,000 in 5 years, you're going to make $98,000.
In addition to that,
yes,
the new offer includes hiring 200 more social workers, giving immediate 14% salary hikes to nurses and other paraprofessionals who work in the CPS schools.
Oh, good.
That's on top of the 16% salary hikes, beefed up health benefits for teachers, additional funding for teachers' assistants. And CTU rejected out of hand, saying the offer does not honor our teachers or our support staff, including our lowest wage workers, our teaching assistants, hundreds whom in 2024, if CPS has proposed contract will still earn wages, although their children will be eligible for free school lunches under federal poverty guidelines. They want CTU.
They reject that offer. That's amazing.
They want to increase the number of social workers to 1 social worker per 220 students over 3 years. You know what the price tag on that is? $800 million.
$800 million?
$800 million in a school district that routinely runs billion-dollar budget deficits, that is junk rated, junk in, junk out. Rejected. So tell me again that they don't think they've got Lori the Lightfoot over a barrel, just like they had Tiny Dancer. They've got a docile and compliant Chicago electorate, and they're going to go for the blank check. Why not? For more on this topic, and because he's a Illinois native, and we'll get into a discussion of macroeconomics as well. Of course, we're pleased to be joined by Steve Moore, noted economist, Wall Street Journal columnist, author of Trumponomics, Inside the America First Plan to Revive Our Economy. Steve, don't you love hearing these tales from the front in Chicago?
Good morning, guys. By the way, I have a radical idea to fix everything. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Ready? Okay. Why not just take the $18,000 per student that you're already spending, and that's not including the hundreds of millions you're talking about, that they want to increase the budget by, and just give every parent with a child a $15,000 voucher or scholarship, and let them just go to any school they want to. What a radical idea! You know,
Well,
pick what school
yeah.
they want to go to.
Yeah.
And I know, Dan, that's way too radical for you. But I mean, can you imagine if the schools actually had to compete for students, and all of a sudden schools could actually get rid of horrible teachers? You know, my attitude about teacher pay is great teachers are underpaid, no question about it. I remember, there were 5 or 6 teachers that I had when I was at Faith, Hope, and Charity grade school, and when I went to Nutria High School, just amazing teachers who had a huge influence on my life. They were underpaid. They should have been paid double what they were paid. But then you've got so many horrible teachers that have no business being in front of a classroom. I mean, it's child abuse to put these rotten teachers in front of kids.
What?
No, I agree.
Steve,
they can't fire them because they're union members.
I know you can't fire them. Who else? I mean, Dan and Amy, I got to ask you guys a personal question. Do you have tenure?
I do not have tenure, not yet.
I do, but yeah.
I'm
I
going
was
before the
just
committee.
published, so I'm
Go to the
okay.
office this morning and get a pink slip.
Yes.
I bet 98% of the people listening to the show don't have tenure.
No, I mean, if we didn't do our jobs, we'd be fired. But I know I've experienced firsthand. There is a certain teacher that no one. She's not as good as everybody else, but they can't fire her because she's a union member.
Steve,
That's ridiculous.
I've got a personal question for you, Steve. So, because you just gave us your CV in terms of your education, you went to Faith, Hope, and Charity. What did you
By the
do?
way, let me just
Wait,
interrupt
hold
you
on a
for 1
second.
minute.
Hold on a second.
Don't
Hold
squirm
on.
your way out of this. Steve
Wait,
Moore.
what did you do to lose your parents' love that they sent you to Nutria instead of Loyola?
Oh,
I wanted to go to church because I wanted to go to high school with a good sports program. Just kidding. My brother actually went to Loyola, and I went to Nutria. But, the interesting thing was that when I went to Faith, Hope, and Charity, I was taught by nuns.
Yes.
And you want to talk about people who, I mean, I still have the scars on my knuckles from when they whacked me with the rulers. I mean, today that, you put those teachers, those nuns in, child abuse or something like that. But it was amazing. And really, there were so many teachers I look back at and said, God, they had such a big impact. I mean, kids hate going to school. I hated school for the most part. And why is it that schools make teaching so boring? I mean, learning.
Is your
the
school
learning
still
experience should be exciting.
Is Faith, Hope, and Charity still open?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
oh yeah.
Yes.
And I think they actually have uniforms now. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
Oh my
uniforms.
Yeah, well. All right, let's tackle some
this
other
is fun.
topics
Okay,
here.
so wait, hold on. You're saying you don't like my idea. Let's just get
I mean, I love your
black
idea.
and Hispanic kid
Hey, look.
a $15,000 voucher. It's going to save money for everybody. Every parent will be able to send their kids to an excellent school. We can get rid of bad teachers. We can get rid of bad administrators. We can fire thousands and thousands of these idiot social workers who don't add any value. And have real learning going on.
And look, we're in this paradise for socialist workers. We're lucky to have the tax credit scholarship. So, of course, I agree with you. But, blank check is a lot more likely. And the exodus continuing from Illinois, much more likely. Going to the federal level, President Trump commemorating the 70th anniversary of the People's Republic of Communist China. I know he's trying to ingratiate himself with Xi and get a deal on China, but the Norman Vincent Peale stuff sometimes, boy, is really tone deaf, isn't it?
Yeah, look, you're talking about the communist revolution. That's what they're celebrating.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Look, let's be very frank about this. Mao was maybe the single greatest villain who ever lived on the face of the earth. He exterminated well over 100 million people, his own people. He starved to death his own country. And it is so shocking to me. I mean, it shows how crazy this world is that China still has Mao on their currency. That would be like the Germans having Hitler on their currency.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's outrageous. I mean, we have to get this history right, that these socialist communists were villains, that they exterminated people. And you know, I'm worried about China because I think that the communists are back in charge.
Yes, I get that, but I don't understand why the president tweets out congratulations to President Xi and the Chinese people on the 70th anniversary of the People's Republic of China. He's perfectly
outrageous.
He's perfectly willing to call them thieves, which they are. He's perfectly willing to beat them up over currency manipulation. How about beating them up over being a bunch of communist thugs for the last 70 years who've piled up the body count you just described?
Amen. Amen to that. I mean, you're exactly right. The idea that we should celebrate, you know, the Mao regime and this, you know, I love the fact that they call their army the People's Liberation Army. They're not liberators; they're oppressors. You know, they want to march into Hong Kong and destroy the freedom movement there. And I said it before on your show. I'll say it again. The Nobel Peace Prize this year should go to these protesters in Hong Kong. And you know, it is just unbelievable to me that anybody would ever hold up Mao as some kind of liberator. He was one of the greatest villains of all time. And you're right. I'm in a full agreement with you, Dan. I mean, this is ridiculous that Trump is. Are you saying Trump is?
Yeah, Trump tweeted that. Yeah, he tweeted that.
I think it's stupid. I mean, and now look, Trump likes to kind of ingratiate himself with President Xi so he can make a deal, but you know, this I don't approve of.
So who's winning the trade war? And you know, according to the Washington Post, there's a deep manufacturing recession. Is that true?
Yeah, manufacturing is really taking a hit, no question about it. So the market really went down yesterday. Incomes are up, by the way. You know, I had a piece in the Wall Street Journal showing that the average American income is up $4,100 since Trump entered office. That's a gigantic increase. But yeah, manufacturing slowed down a bit, and that's worrisome. Your question is who's winning the trade war? Neither country is. China's getting hurt more than we are, but it's almost mutually assured destruction. I want to get a deal done. I want to move on. I think China's going to have to make some concessions, and I don't understand why they won't do this because it's in their own interest. You know, China's economy would get back to life. Our economy would be like taking a champagne bottle and taking the cork out of it after you shake it up. So there's so much good that would come out of a trade deal, and I'm frustrated that it's taking this long to happen. I know Dan's probably grinning right now because he's saying, "I told you so."
Well, yes, I did tell you so, but I'm not grinning because it's not good. It's not good economic policy, and people are being hurt, and it just doesn't make any sense. And he's got to find a way onto this. Even by the way, even steel, the steel industry, which is protected by these high tariffs on foreign steel. You've got U.S. Steel shutting down 2 blast furnaces in Gary, a steel maker in Pennsylvania announced it's going to lay off 80 workers. It's slowing production. Another steel maker in Rothbury, Michigan, doing the same. Not good.
I agree. And I'll just want to add one other thing. I mean, where is the liberal media that is always, why aren't they reporting the human rights violations that are going on in China, the persecution for religious, reasons, people being thrown in jail, dissidents? I don't see those stories. They act as if somehow, the Chinese government is some kind of benign regime. It isn't. It isn't, and it's moving in the wrong direction. I just wish there were fair treatment about what's really happening in China right now. I don't. Did you see it in the New York Times, the Washington Post?
No.
These stories? I haven't.
No, and partly, of course, because that's the Trump administration has been standing up for the Uyghurs, the Muslim minority in China that's being persecuted. So, of course, you can't provide any positive coverage of the Trump administration.
The country that is booming, by the way, is Singapore, because all its capital is now leaving Hong Kong. It's leaving China, and it's pouring into Singapore. So this is my investment tip. Singapore is going to be the next great, power. It's already one of the richest countries in the world, and it's going to get richer because it's going to take over. If the Chinese move into Hong Kong, Singapore becomes the new Asian